July 22nd.
Okay, ready when you. Okay, ready? We'll call our meeting to order. Please stand. All righty, let's be seated and we'll get this underway. Welcome, everybody. It is Tuesday, July the 22nd, 2025. It's 5 o'clock and we are sitting as council in the council chambers of Town Hall Village, Westport. And I'm going to item number 3.
We'll begin this meeting, council, by acknowledging that we are meeting on Aboriginal land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. Long before today, as we gather here, there have been Aboriginal peoples who have been the stewards of this place. In particular, we acknowledge the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Wendat, and Haudenosaunee peoples.
Thank you. Item number 4 is the adoption of the agenda. It's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crafter, that the agenda of the meeting of council held on July 22nd, 2025 be adopted as presented. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none. Item number 6 is the minutes of the previous meetings. It's moved by Councillor Crafter, seconded by Councillor Card, that the minutes of the June 24th, 2025 council and July 8th, 2025 committee of the whole meeting be received and adopted. Any errors or omissions in the minutes? I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Item number 7 are motions and resolutions. So in the chamber tonight with us from staff is Chismore, our rec manager, and of course our CAO clerk, and Mr. Evans is virtual tonight. So when we get to his public works motions, if you have questions, he is certainly able to answer them for you. 7.1 is an item we discussed at committee of the whole, which is the capital projects delegations of authority to the CAO. It's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper, that council delegates the authority to the CAO to manage, engage subcontractors, dedicate staff and other resources to the Spring Street reconstruction project and the WTCC Arena Canteen renovation project up to the 2025 budgeted amount. And just a reminder to the public, these are projects that are underway and will continue to need direction and approvals during the month of August. And we like to take a break in August. So there's a budget amount. The delegation of authority is up to the council approved budget. Any questions or discussion? Okay, I'll call a question then. All in favor? That's carried. Item 7.2 is the town hall structure feasibility study. And it's again, something that was discussed at committee of the whole. It's moved by Councillor Crapper, seconded by Councillor Card, that council directs staff to enter into an agreement with VG Plus Architects to complete a review of the town hall in the amount of $18,500 plus HST. So again, a reminder, when we debated this a couple of weeks ago, we know that it's a beautiful historical building that is quite in, has a significant amount of meaning, in the village. But we have outgrown it in many ways. I, as mayor, have never, felt the need for an office, but I do think it's time. So when they do the feasibility study, when we get it back, we could expect that there'll be some place that, and there's an office for the mayor, which is accessible. Years before I had the office where the CAO is now, and at that time, the CAO clerk was upstairs, which wasn't accessible, and people needed him more than they needed me, so it's really time to get an idea of what the cost is gonna be. Any questions or comments about that, Councillor Cracker?
This is an area, a topic I had a couple of people comment on positively. They liked learning about our plan. You know, it was a step after the engineering study that had been discussed here, and that our assets need to be managed and planned for the future. There's a lot of pride in this building, and people want to ensure that we're on top of what it takes to keep it alive, let alone expand it. Also, feedback that that process that we've used a number of times of investing some money upfront, a little bit of money, and particularly this one because we had money in the budget to do some repairs in here, and instead of doing those somethings, we're actually taking a much bigger picture approach that has, you know, more promise down the road, and using that money for a study to tell us what we need to do.
And you know, sometimes it depends on you, it depends on council. I'm sure staff in year one of a new term, you know, there's probably a lot of things they park until they can bring them forward. And just as you said, that we have a better appreciation for where they're coming from because we've, you know, talked about it or we've heard complaints about it. Anybody, anything else? Thanks, Councillor Crawford. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, and that's carried. 7.3 water tower environmental assessment, EA. And again, we talked about this at committee of the whole meeting. It's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Cracker. The council approves staff to engage JP2G Consulting to complete a Schedule B municipal class environmental assessment for the water tower in the amount of 27,000 plus HST with a 15% contingency. We talked a lot about it. We reminded everybody that the capacity of, we have lots of water. Let's say that, we have lots of water. However, each municipality has to maintain a reserve in the water tower, and we are pushing our limit. We also have the appropriate fire equipment to pull from the lakes, if need be. So somebody asked me, you know, what happens in a fire? And I said, we have a pumper that they use everywhere else in the township that they don't have hydrants. Any comments or questions about that? Go ahead, Councilor.
Just quickly, it doesn't say here an important point, which is that those dollars come from connection fees. And I think that's important for people to know that these aren't dollars from our general coffers. These are dollars specific to water sewer
To growth, yeah.
from development.
Good point. It will be budgeted on that line, but
Yeah.
that's a good point, yeah. Anybody, anything else? All right, call the question. All in favor, and that's carried. 7.4 is the Lumberjacks request for liquor, to serve liquors, moved by Councillor Cardy, seconded by Councillor Aragona. The council approves the Lumberjacks request regarding the trial period of 1 season for alcohol sales at the WTC Communication Center. Now, in the briefing note, there's a lot more information, so this is just to pass through council approval. But just reminding you that in the briefing note that came to committee of the whole, there was a lot of criteria that needed to be met. Mr. Chismore is here if you've got any questions. Any concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Craig.
I'm just, and I'm sure there will be, I'm sure staff are gonna be quite thorough in their negotiations, but as I understand it right now, it will be a defined space upstairs and the only alcohol will be within that defined space.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that a little bit more because so for people here likely know, but the public may not, what we talked about, the renovation of the canteen. It's underway and it's really gonna be improved. It's gonna be a better heating, there'll be air conditioning, there'll be better lighting, be more comfortable seating, and there'll be a corner set aside for this. But so I'm kind of looking through the CAO, whether it's you or Mr. Chismore, is the where we serve food at the canteen won't change, that floor space, everybody can imagine that in their mind. And over on the west side, so that's on the north side, on the west side is where if approved, that the bar will be set up. Is the whole floor upstairs licensed then? Or is there an area, a no-go area where the food is? I'm not suggesting there should be, I'm just not sure what you guys have planned.
Do you have the answer for the floor area? Because if not, I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So we did some research on this. Council asked us to look into insurance. We did do that. We're covered for a special occasions permit. If it turns into anything more or more consistent, like a liquor license, then we would need to pass a municipal alcohol policy before they would insure. We would still be insured before they would insure us to the level we need to be. We also reached out to the lumberjacks and they have their own insurance. And they're gonna list us as a third-party insurer to cover on both sides for the special occasions permit. Chris reached out to AGCO, and as the facility owners, we get to stipulate the times in which they serve alcohol and the area, which should be ported off or restricted to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because that was, I think, all of our concern, people standing in line for French fries aren't gonna have someone standing beside them with a bottle of beer, particularly if it's a youngin', so there'll be some area cordoned off. All right, that works, and we know that the area we're most concerned about is where the kids are going to get their food.
Yep.
Okay, and thank you for doing the insurance, that's good, so we're a third party on their insurance, we have our own. Of course, and part of the other criteria that was in the briefing notes, they have to meet all these safe serve?
Smart serve.
Smart serve, thank you, smart serve requirements. So we are almost here, ready to give approval, so let's make sure everybody's got their questions answered and they're satisfied. Go ahead, Counselor.
Just because it doesn't stipulate it in this motion, it is just beer through you two persons.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the intention.
Yeah.
Yeah, to start slow and just start with beer.
Yeah, I think that's wise. I think that's probably what we should be aiming to do this year and see how that goes.
Yeah, and so we don't need to write that in the resolution, but that sounds like it's consensus around the table here that for the first year, it's not liquor and it's not wine, it's just beer. Okay, so if it's not in your notes, Mr. Chismore, that looks like it's council's direction. Councilor Carney.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, there will be a distinct start and finish time for this, like before the game, so many minutes or hours before the game and after the game, is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, perhaps we could get just for information in September, what those decisions are, so that we, you know, as Councillor Carty said, it's an hour before a game, hour and after the game, just so that, when we get asked, it's not a bar. It's in relation to, their games only. So if we could get that update in September, that would be great. Okay, this is new turf for us. I've heard nothing negative. I have heard a couple of people, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see how it goes. And I said, that's exactly the same attitude we have. That we know that there's other groups that are probably interested in doing the same. So lumberjacks are prepared to try it out. And you know, it really falls to Mr. Chismore to keep it clean, so it doesn't smell like a brouhaha up there and whatever. Councilor Crawford.
Just, I don't want to go into the weeds on it, but if we did, for example, go an hour after, I could see it. The experiences I've had where they've sold alcohol in recreational facilities, they stop before. So that people realize that before the end, it's like last call, right? Like at a bar. Otherwise, what happens is you extend staffing time. People, you know, it could be a nice thing to hang around and have your beer after the game, but there are implications on that I think would be really smart to think about.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. Councilor Craig.
To your worship, just to extend Councillor Crapper's concerns there, as it would stand, the only way you'd have access to that facility would be to pay an admission at the door. So we just have to make certain that there are no people just coming in off the street after the game is over because they know they can get a beer upstairs. So there has to be some provision for monitoring that. But there again, that's people power, so.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Chisholm is nodding his head yes, so you've given him some things to think about. All right, anybody, any other concerns that we should flesh out before we call the question? All right, then I'm gonna call the question, all in favor, and that's carried. Well done, team, let's see how this year goes. Staff reports, administration, information purposes, it's moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Cardy. The council receives a report entitled Administration Building Permit Update Q2 2025 for information purposes. Let's call that question then. All in favor, carried. 8.2 is Public Works GHG Reduction Plan Arena Plant Design. And the motion is moved by Councillor Cardy, seconded by Councillor Aragona. The council directs staff to enter into an agreement with Simcoe to provide design services as outlined in their proposal in the amount of $27,170 plus HST with the 10% contingency to further the GHG reduction strategy. Austin, go ahead.
So it's great to get money for anything, but when I look through the terms and conditions of Simcoe's contract, if you go to page 23 of ours, of the printout here, and paragraph 4, liability. So the vendor shall not be liable for any losses, injuries, expenses, or damages, whether direct, indirect, special, incidental, consequential, or punitive, arising out of the goods or the installation operation or failure of operation of the goods or related systems, even if caused by the vendor's negligence. So that doesn't.
So first of all,
really sit well.
we tend not to give, my expectation is always that our contracts go to legal for review. And that it doesn't need to come to council once the lawyers have reviewed it. Did that happen with the Simcoe agreement?
I'll have to defer to Peter on that one.
Peter?
Yeah, so if I can just maybe assuage the question. Because this is a design contract, that's a typical clause. When the installation and construction contracts will come through, there'll be the same liabilities from workmanship and defects. I can't speak to whether this agreement went directly to labor, but I can speak to that clause in a design contract as being a standard clause.
Okay, something's fallen off the track because we have lots of contracts. And the reason we don't take them to council is because the lawyer's already looked at all the fine print. So I would like to defer this, let it go to the lawyer, and then bring it back in September. Is everybody all right with that? All right, we'll defer. Sorry, Peter, but when it's got that amount of, I saw you reading it when I came in, and I was, in my mind, I was questioning if it had gone to legal, so that's our plan for that.
Can I ask a clarification question? I need clarification on connect the dots on budget on that item. Should I, since we're deferring it, should I wait till it comes back?
Yeah, more appropriate, yeah,
Okay.
if you don't mind. Write that down in your parking lot, though.
It's right.
Okay. All right, 8.3, Public Works Spring Street parking requirements. So the motion is moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Cardy, that council received the report entitled Public Works Spring Street Parking Requirements for Information Purposes. Now, this is not something that went to committee of the whole. It was a point that Peter realized after we approved the delegation of authority to the CAO for the project, that the, as you would have read in the briefing note, the issue is how narrow Spring Street is. So really what is, it's not for our approval, we can send it back, we can ask for more information. Eventually, they're gonna have to change the bylaw, the parking bylaw for where you can park on the street. But comments on what is ahead of us tonight. Go ahead, Joe. Councillor Aragona.
I have two questions related to the losing the 7 or 8 spots. I think parking is always tight in the village, especially around events, and I'd hate to lose 7 or 8 spots. What I didn't understand from the briefing notes through you, Madam Mayor, to the Manager of Public Works is why do we have to have sidewalks on both sides? Is there a stipulation or is there a design requirement? I'm not quite sure. Can we achieve the same thing with only sidewalks on one side?
And then just have a grass boulevard on the other and a curb.
Parking.
And with parking,
It's
so
parking, yeah.
we don't need the same width of a boulevard, we need a curb. And then, good question, Mr. Evans.
Yeah, so through your worship, this being more of a downtown block and a number like kind of more heavily residential on either side, I would strongly recommend that sidewalks on both sides be maintained. There's a sidewalk that connects on George Street and sidewalks on both sides the rest of the way down Spring Street to Main. And the houses that are on that section would have to cross a relatively busy street for the village to access the sidewalk. Whereas the more dedicated residential networks in the Mill Street or the sorry, not Mill Street, the subdivision, the new subdivision, or George Street, there's no kind of significant residential across the road. And even if there was, George Street isn't as much of a connector to the downtown as Spring Street is. So my recommendation would still be for have both sidewalks on both sides.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Follow-up question, through you, Madam Mayor, to the Manager of Public Works. So if we do that on that section of Spring Street, is the intention then to extend sidewalks up Spring Street all the way up to Concession on both sides as well?
Through your worship, it is something that is being considered in the design, but it's more the connection at George Street. There's a couple of houses on Spring Street right now. Of course, Councillor Card is aware that those sidewalks don't connect. But in this case here, I still would strongly recommend having those sidewalks, whether the sidewalk goes up to Concession Street or not.
Anybody else? Councillor Card?
Through your worship, are we working towards at least a draft of a plan for the total project? And we're just taking part of it now and doing from George to Church?
Good question. Peter, so I don't know if you heard the question.
Yep.
Conceptually, I think Councillor Eric Gowen has opened up, what's the plan when we redo the road? And,
Yep.
that would be helpful. So if you could offer some advice on that.
Yep. So through your worship, so there is, we are working on a plan that was brought forward in, I believe, mid 2023, that we've been using to put out for grant applications. So there was a preliminary design and costing done by Greer Galloway Group at that time. That at the time there was room left for sidewalks on Concession Street, sidewalks to Concession Street, or at least to the arena on both sides, but it hadn't been decided nor brought to council as of yet.
Follow up. To follow up, if you, and I don't know if we can do that right now for everybody's benefit, but if we look at the Google Earth and look down on that, there is a considerable misalignment of when you're looking straight down onto that, everything is gonna probably, depending on whether you do sidewalks from George up to the arena or not, there'll be a misalignment there. I'm just wondering, when I asked the question, I was wondering why we left the boulevard on the other side of Spring Street when knowing that we're gonna be shy of room to do the other side of the street. So
I don't know the answer to that.
we could have eliminated that boulevard and gained, I don't know, probably 36 inches or something like that, and still had a curb there for water control.
Does it have to do with telephone poles, Peter?
Through your worship, telephone poles and trees.
Okay. Sorry, Councillor Card.
The issue other than Spring Street is simply parking capacity in the village. And I think it might be timely, given that there's a potential to lose 7 spots, to think about our parking plan in the village. I've noticed recently a couple of stores that have on the road signs that say customer parking only, for example. Not helpful when we're tight for space. So through you too, Peter, perhaps a related project is just an analysis of where we're at with parking, what our potential gains could be. There's an example, etc. The loss of 7, it may not seem like much, but I think it is perhaps less on Spring because we have the arena parking. So maybe it's maybe not as big a deal there, but in terms of overall capacity, it's a good thing to keep our head around.
Councillor Carr.
I would be interested, through you, Madam Mayor, just more of a comment. I'd be interested to speak to the residents on Spring Street if they use that parking too. If they prefer, you know, to keep the parking out there. I'm not sure I'm prepared to vote in favor of this right now.
Okay. So I drove down there today. And with a car, and so here it's summer, there's no snowbanks, I'm not following a fire department vehicle. And I had to I turned left onto Spring Street from George, and I had to pull over to let an oncoming car come. I think that, I think the consultation with the people who live on the street would be helpful. They're probably gonna say, we don't wanna lose the parking. I think we have to lose the parking. I think it's a safety issue. Whether we go 0.5 or 0.8 for the width of the sidewalk, when you add the curb. These people, the cars today were parked right at the sidewalk, and knowing that we're still gonna have to add the curb. I just think that, you know, maybe the compromise is, we prohibit parking there from Thanksgiving till the 1st of May. And then that would be not, the roads wouldn't, there'd be no inclement weather, it'd be like a day like today, but maybe less, and give that a try. So that when we need the parking the most, we try next spring, giving it back, allowing it during those months. But it is tight. And I'd like to get it done, because that, as we're all walkers, that sidewalk is really outrageous. So is that, Peter, is that something that's doable?
So through your worship, I think you're on the right track for sure, that even in its current state, that winter comment was meant to reinforce that even if we use the extreme minimum lane width of 5 meters, which is an allowance for wintertime, not supposed to be used in the summer, the road is still too narrow for what it is with parking on both sides. And to do this reconstruction and with a 30 and 40-year lifespan, and have it even narrower than it is now, even just having the curb, it's a challenge for everyone, I think.
So could you go through those numbers, because the public listening won't know what you're talking about. So we've got
Absolutely.
sidewalk, how much is gonna be eaten up by sidewalk? How much is, if you know, what is traveled portion? And on the traveled portion, with parking on both the north and the south side, how much is actually left for traffic to get through? So 3 sets of numbers if you have them.
Absolutely, yeah. So the minimum, like the parking width minimum is 2.6 meters. Using the minimum lane width, like of 5 meters, which again is not meant for summer. It's meant to be the minimum that we have to clear. Adding 5 meters to that, the existing pavement width is already too narrow to accommodate that, even in its current state, to replace like for like.
Okay.
And the additional we would be looking for is the sidewalk should be 1.8 meters, which is 0.4, almost half a meter wider than it is there now. And the curb, which is very important for the stormwater works, and the lack of curb there has definitely contributed to the failure of the asphalt and the failure of the roadbed on those sides. That's going to be an additional 0.3 meters. So doing what we should do is going to add 0.7 meters to the south side. To even go to the minimum sidewalk width of 1.5 meters, we're still reducing by 10 centimeters without a curb. And I don't think it would be wise to install new sidewalk without a curb on that stretch. Unfortunately, I do agree normally that we talk to some of the people on that street. I think that'd be more to pick which side of the street was left over for parking, only because we do need to know ahead of construction in August whether we are installing a 1.5 meter sidewalk or no sidewalk, I suppose.
So if I wrap up what you said, if we do a narrow sidewalk at 1.5, we still have 0.7 of a curve. And so that still puts the roadway itself narrow, obviously, we know narrower than what it is now. And narrower than what is the regulation for our roadway with that speed and that volume of traffic. Have I got that right?
That's correct, Your Worship. And there is one more note, just on the idea of removing the sidewalk, is those doors open to the front, sidewalk or not, people will still need to be able to get out of the front of their house. So they'll need a landing pad of some sort that would allow them to get out of the front of their house, even if they are going to walk on the roadway or cross the roadway there.
Okay, so it was for information purposes. You've had a lot of input. What is your, how do you want, oh, go ahead, sorry, Councilor Carr.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if we do, through your worship, if we resort to one-side parking, if you look at that Google view, you will realize that it would be, the wise thing to do would be to park on the south side from George to Church, and on the north side from George to Concession. And that gives, that kind of lines up,
Interesting.
the traffic flow instead of having that everything shoved to the one way and creating a bottleneck there. So I mean, if that's what we end up doing, I would suggest that as the alternative.
All right. Anybody else want to weigh in? Go ahead, Joe.
And not a question, but just a comment. It sounds to me like we're trying to find a balance here between pleasing pedestrians, if you will, and parking cars. And I think that's difficult to do in this situation. I hate to lose the 7 or 8 spots or whatever it is, but I understand the safety issue and the need to continue to reinforce that the Westport is a walkable village. So I don't see a way out of it, but I really do like Councillor Card's suggestion of alternating where we place the parking. That seems to make sense in terms of traffic flow.
Yeah, and we've also heard from Councillor Cardy that we want some consultation, so nobody is surprised. And we'll leave that up to staff to decide what that looks like.
One last question.
Go ahead.
Your worship. I can't recall, there's a sidewalk and there are some telephone poles, fiber poles. Are they gonna remain there, or are they gonna be part of the sidewalk, or how's that gonna work out?
How's that gonna work out there, Mr. Evans?
So through your worship, and apologize, and just we are looking at a similar pattern for Councillor Card and Councillor Aragona for parking. That pole, there's one pole that impacts parking specifically, a spot on that south side. And the village is going to do some consulting work to see what we can do about those.
Yeah, I think you, I don't know if you can see us, we can't see you. But as soon as Councillor Card asked the question, everybody was nodding their head, yes. I think staff need to do, have discussions with the private company who owns those poles and do what you can to eliminate them. So I'm asking a big ask there, but it's time. It's time to make that street better. So good point. All right, so that is where that at. So it's for information purposes. I'll just call the question. All in favor? Carried. And bylaws. Moved by Councillor Cardy, seconded by Councillor Aragona, that bylaw 2025-22 being a bylaw to enter in an agreement with the Township of Greater Lakes for enforcement of the Ontario Building Code and Residential Tenancies Act. You read it first, second, third time, finally passed this 22nd day of June 2025. I understand that Greater Lakes has accepted this already. Call the question, any discussion? It's routine. I'll call the question. Go ahead. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to prejudge what you were going to do, but it was pretty safe ground. 9.2 is the agreement with E360 Solutions for our waste management contract. We're bringing that over from committee of the whole. Of the discussion, and the best price for sure was E360, and that's what you recommended. So it's moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Cardy, that bylaw 2025-23 being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with E360 Solutions for the provision of waste management be read a first, second, and third time and finally pass this 22nd day of June, 2025. Any questions? Go ahead.
Just a comment, not a question. We had discussed when we actually discussed this at committee of the whole, some type of communique going out to residents. I just want to relay that this is an important situation that many residents are really concerned about. As a matter of fact, I was flagged down on my drive over here this evening by one resident who said, hey, when are we going to find out what's happening with recycling? So I really strongly recommend that we put out some type of communique about this as soon as we can.
Okay, so now that we've passed it, they can do it. And did you have an idea of when staff can, so this is the rest of the calendar, right? That's what they're looking for,
Exactly.
when we're gonna do the rest of the calendar.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. We've had multiple inquiries today, obviously, about what's presented tomorrow, which is plastic, by the way.
Thank you.
And
Plastic
it's-
tomorrow for anybody who's asking.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's almost finished, as I understand it, unless Peter has anything else to add, probably by the end of the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, or get ready for more questions
That's right.
next week. Peter, anything to add?
Oh, sorry, still mute. I believe the final draft has been submitted. It's just getting checked for minor errors, and I think the end of the week or early next for printing will be the case.
Okay, very good. There you go.
Thank you.
Plastic this week, paper next week, just in case they got questions. I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Great. Okay, any notices of motion? Oh, Mr. Aragona.
I have a notice of motion. There have been incidents of vandalism at Lockwood Park over the past few months, primarily focused on the new washroom facilities the village installed last year. This has required staff to spend budget dollars on repairs rather than other priorities. So since it is difficult for the village to monitor the park 24 hours a day, I'll be making a motion at the September 2nd committee of the whole meeting proposing the installation of a video surveillance system at the park once installed. I believe we can use the system to provide video records needed to investigate any vandalism that happens and at the park in the future.
Good, thank you very much. Duly noted. Anybody else have a notice of motion? All right, anybody have an announcement? Councilor Carter.
I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate a citizen in the village, Mr. Aragona, not Councillor Aragona, on a job well done over the weekend. I've had people even come to my door and tell me how great the car show was. The businesses, I think, are more than happy with the increased business for that day, and nothing but compliments to Mr. Aragona on well-managed and a well thought out process here. Second year, and it's one of the biggest events I've seen in the village in over 50 years. So congratulations.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Well done, for sure. Go ahead.
Thank you for that, Councillor Card. I'd like to thank the councillors here who participated as volunteers and helped put on the show, and I'd like to thank staff for all their support throughout the thing. It was very well attended. We had close to 82 cars. The number varies depending on which sheet was not duplicated. But it's, we didn't hit the 300 number, but we got as close as possible. And I want to thank everybody that helped out with that, and all the volunteers that participated for helping put the show on and for making it a success. Thank you.
Well done. And I'd like to apologize to everybody in Westport who, they asked how many cars, I said 500 because I thought that was. And tonight, when we started the meeting and Councillor Eric or Mr. Aragona made the comment, I thought I gotta eat a lot of crow. I mean, it was amazing. But just, I wasn't pulling your leg. I really thought it was 500.
It felt like 500.
It felt like 500. That's a good point. Any other announcements? Go ahead, Mr. Chisholm.
Your Madam Mayor, on a slightly smaller note, just wanted to announce this upcoming Friday, we have movies in the rink once again. This week, we're trying a double feature, so we've got a movie beginning at 6:45, Despicable Me 4, followed by the Minions Are Coming to Westport, and at 8:30, we will do Captain America: Brave New World. Admission is free for both movies, thanks to, once again, New Life Thrift Store and Hurley Home Hardware Building Center. So So pleased that these groups have stepped up to, basically, it's free movies at the rink on this Friday.
Oh, that's
Very,
great.
very happy about that.
Yeah, that's just great. Well done. And thank you to both sponsors for sure. And the public needs to understand that, like, we don't have many Friday nights left before the ice goes in. So come out on Friday and see Despicable Me. Anybody else with an announcement? Go ahead.
Peter has a couple of.
Oh, go ahead, Peter.
Yes, so through your worship, a couple announcements. One, some good news. The reason why I'm attending virtually tonight is council had allowed for $30,000 to purchase a used valve trailer, which has a small hydrovac unit on it. The village has used a loaned unit, courtesy of the town of Gananoque, for a couple of service repairs. It makes the service repair is much more efficient than a larger excavator. And the village has successfully purchased one for about $6,000 of the 30. So we're very happy with that. And the unit it's in exceptional shape and was done recently, worked over by the manufacturer. So we'll do a few tweaks to make it work for us. But we're very, very happy with what we have so far, and we hope that we'll be able to keep council updated on its use in the next few years.
Good.
The other announcement I just wanted to congratulate one of our operators, Zach Doyle, who has recently completed his level 1 licensing for water treatment here in the village. So
Good.
he's our newest operator and is well on his way in his licensing path, and the level 1's a big one. So we're very happy with that.
Yay. Okay, that's great news. You could take like 3 weeks vacation maybe at some point.
Thank you.
Anybody, anything else? All right. Any questions from the public or from the media? Okay. So the confirmatory bylaw is moved by Councillor Carney, seconded by Councillor Aragona. The bylaw 2025-24 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings at its meeting held on July 22nd, 2025. Be read a first, second, and third, and finally passes 22nd day of July 2025. All in favor? Carried. And at 6:42. Moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Carney, that this meeting of the council of the village of Westport adjourn. All in favor? And we're adjourned.